there's a quiet voice inside you. Maybe you felt it for a long time. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. But it's always there, like a gentle knowing that your life could be more than what it is right now. Sometimes, it comes when the world goes silent. In your dreams, in those in-between moments when time seems to pause, and something deep within you whispers, "There's more." That voice isn't just your imagination. It's your connection to something much bigger, the energy of the universe. A space where every version of you already exists. Every possibility, every path, every life you could live is already out there, in a parallel universe, waiting. And here's the truth that changes everything. The version of you that's whole, joyful, fulfilled, and truly alive, that version already exists. Not in some far-off future, but here, now, vibrating in a different frequency, just waiting for you to meet it. That's what it really means to step into a new version of yourself. It's not about fantasy. It's not about forcing anything. It's about becoming the you who already has what your heart longs for. People like Dispenza and Lipton have shown us something powerful. You are not separate from your ideal life. You're already connected to it. The energy around you responds to the energy within you. When your thoughts, emotions, and state of being shift, so does the reality you step into. Dispenza, a researcher and scientist known for bridging neuroscience, quantum physics, and spiritual practice, became widely recognized after healing himself from a serious accident through meditation and mind-body alignment. He teaches this: you can't create a new life if you're still emotionally anchored to the old one. If your mornings start with the same thoughts, the same fears, and the same patterns, your life will reflect the same results. To step into a new timeline, you have to release the old story. Bruce H. Lipton, a cell biologist and thought leader in epigenetics, shows us that our biology is not dictated by our genes, but by our beliefs and emotional environment. In The Biology of Belief, he reveals how our thoughts and feelings actively shape our health, behavior, and reality, often more than genetics ever could. Your body isn't just following orders, it's listening, responding, adapting, and it's waiting for a new signal. You don't need to try harder. You don't need to chase. What you need is a new state of being. And sometimes, it begins with something as simple as a breath. So pause for a moment. Close your eyes if you'd like. Inhale slowly. Feel it, that quiet current of possibility that's been flowing through you all along. The part of you that doesn't need proof to believe. The part that remembers you are meant to live in alignment, in coherence, in expansion. This is the doorway. In the next section, we'll step through it. We'll explore how the quantum field responds not to your wishes, but to your energy. We'll look at why your biology and your consciousness are more deeply connected than you may have ever realized. And we'll explore how to gently loosen the grip of old stories and step into the one that's been waiting for you. So, are you ready to remember who you truly are if you're still here? Something inside you is already awake. Maybe you don't have the words for it yet. Maybe you can't explain why. But you feel the pull, that quiet nudge towards something different, a life that feels more like you. This is not the moment to wait for life to change. This is the moment you realize you are the one who shifts. Let's go deeper and explore the science behind it. Let's take this exploration a little deeper. The idea of parallel universes might sound magical, something out of a sci-fi film or a spiritual retreat. But if we peel away the complicated terms and abstract theories, the core message is simple. You are living in one timeline, but it's not the only one. Beneath your everyday awareness, there are countless versions of you already existing. There's a version of you that lives in fear, constantly second-guessing, playing small, avoiding risk. There's one who lives with deep love, confidence, and purpose. One who's still stuck in the same old story. And another who's already broken free, living creatively, joyfully, and with an open heart. These are not just imagined versions. Every one of them exists in the field of infinite energy. Right now, you are already connected to these potentials. And here's the key. The observer effect shows us that what you focus on, what you give your energy and emotions to, collapses into your experienced reality. In other words, your attention and emotional state determine the timeline you align with. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this the quantum field, a space where all possibilities exist simultaneously. It doesn't respond to your goals or your wishes. It responds to your energetic signature. So, if you spend most of your energy focusing on what's missing, on fear, lack, or frustration, you're unintentionally locking yourself into a timeline that reflects exactly that. Bruce Lipton builds on this by showing us that our biology isn't controlled by our genes, but by the chemical environment created by our thoughts and emotions. Your body is not just reacting passively. It's co-creating with your inner world, always listening, adapting, shifting. And when you combine this with the observer effect, something profound becomes clear. Shifting into a new version of yourself is not a mindset trick. It's a full-body transformation. Let me give you an example. Imagine two versions of you waking up in the morning. The first grabs their phone, checks emails, feels tension in their chest, and rehearses all the same worries. Their nervous system tightens. Stress hormones flood their body. And without knowing it, they step into the same loop of reality as the day before. Now imagine the second version. They wake up and take one slow, grateful breath. They pause. They feel into a sense of possibility, even if nothing has changed on the outside. Their body softens. Their thoughts expand. Their field shifts. And just like that, the quantum responds, collapsing a new reality into form. Same person, different energy, different outcome. This is the power of coherence, not effort, not willpower. Coherence means your thoughts, emotions, body, and energy are no longer pulling in different directions. They become one clear signal. That's when transformation begins. Joe Dispenza teaches that in a coherent state, your heart's electromagnetic field strengthens, your brain balances, and your body becomes a tuning fork to the field. Bruce Lipton adds that when you shift from survival mode into growth, your biology opens the door to healing, creativity, and expansion. But here's why the shift can feel so hard. Most people are chemically addicted to their past. Their bodies crave the emotions they've always known. Worry, anger, stress because they're familiar. The mind may want to change, but the body pulls back. This is why embodiment matters. You can't just think your way into a new reality. You have to feel it, breathe it, practice it, Become it. If all of this still feels abstract, let's look at a vivid example. If you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, you've already seen this idea in action. Evelyn, the main character, is an ordinary woman overwhelmed by life. Then she discovers that there are infinite versions of herself, each one shaped by a different choice, a different belief, a different emotion. There's an Evelyn who's a martial artist, a chef, a superstar, one who's isolated, one who's thriving. And in one universe, she even has hot dog fingers. But the beauty of the story is this: Evelyn can access these versions not by magic, but by shifting her awareness, her energy, her emotional state. It may be fiction, but the metaphor is real. We do this too, quietly, constantly. Every time you let fear take the lead, you step into a timeline that mirrors it. And every time you pause, take a breath, and choose love, you move towards something brighter. So let's pause together. Close your eyes if you'd like. Breathe in slowly. Ask yourself, what timeline have I been unconsciously feeding? What emotions have I been rehearsing on repeat? And what would it feel like, truly feel like, to embody the version of you who's already made the shift? If something inside you is stirring, you're not alone. Leave one word in the comments that names the reality you're ready to live: peace, abundance, freedom, joy. Let it be a signal to the field and a promise to yourself. Because by now, it's clear stepping into a new timeline isn't about hoping harder or visualizing more. It's about alignment, a full, felt resonance between who you are now and who you're becoming. And here's the most important truth. The shift doesn't happen outside of you. It happens within. The universe doesn't change, first you do. And then, the quantum responds. Just like Evelyn, you cannot step into a new world while carrying the energy of the old one. You can't walk into freedom while clinging to fear. You can't open to love while holding on to doubt. Joe Dispenza reminds us that when you move beyond your name, your past, your body, your stories, you enter the field of pure creation. From that space, you don't wait for change. You become it. This is where many people get stuck. They think abundance while feeling lack. They speak of love while vibrating in fear. They try to visualize health while doubting it at the core. But the field doesn't respond to words. It responds to coherence. Bruce Lipton's research shows that your subconscious mind runs about 95% of your life. That means most of the choices you make, the emotions you feel, and even the way your body responds to the world around you are not coming from your conscious thoughts. They're coming from deeply rooted programs, beliefs, and emotional patterns that were shaped years ago, often in childhood, without you even realizing it. If those programs are still looping stories like, "I'm not worthy," "I always mess things up," or "life is hard," then no matter how much you consciously want to grow, your body and subconscious will pull you back into the old familiar reality. It's not because you're weak. It's because you've been conditioned to repeat what's familiar, even if that familiarity is painful. That's why reprogramming matters. Real, lasting change doesn't happen by forcing your way out of the old. You don't need to fight your past, your fear, or your doubt head on. What you need is to gently create a new internal environment, one where new thoughts, new emotions, and new experiences can take root. And how do you do that? Not in a single leap, not overnight, but moment by moment, breath by breath, Every time you choose a new thought, a new feeling especially, when it's uncomfortable, you begin to weaken the grip of the old program. Every time you pause, breathe, and choose presence over autopilot, you are literally rewiring your nervous system. You're teaching your body this is safe now. This is who we are becoming. You don't have to erase the old story. You just have to stop feeding it. And instead, start feeding the new one until it becomes your new familiar. As Joe Dispenza writes in Becoming Supernatural, you're not waiting for your new reality to appear. Your new reality is waiting for you to show up as a new version of yourself. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And when who you are becomes a match for the life you desire, that's when the shift happens. Quietly, powerfully. That's when you begin to live in a new timeline. You don't need to fully understand quantum physics to step into a new timeline. Just like you don't need to know exactly how the heart works to feel love or master every breathing technique to experience peace. This journey doesn't begin with thinking differently. It begins with feeling differently by slowly becoming a higher version of yourself through the way you show up, moment to moment, breath by breath. Try something simple right now. No preparation, just pause and breathe. Inhale gently, exhale slowly. Then ask yourself, if you were already living in the timeline your heart longs for, one where you feel grounded, whole, and no longer reaching outside yourself for validation, how would you feel? Don't think, just feel. Would your body relax? Would your breath deepen? Would your heart feel less guarded? Would the energy within you settle, yet glow? Joe Dispenza puts it simply, to change is to think greater than your environment, to feel greater than the familiar emotions from the past. That change doesn't require a cosmic event. It begins here, in this breath, in the way you sit, in the way you choose to feel, even for 1 minute. If you've watched Everything Everywhere all at once, you might remember that Evelyn didn't jump timelines just by thinking about it. Her shift began with an emotional jolt, raw, chaotic, unexpected, that pushed her out of her usual state. At first, she stumbled through it. But as the movie unfolds, Evelyn begins to understand something crucial. It's not just about reacting, it's about regulating, choosing, aligning. She realizes that her power lies in how she shifts her internal state. And that's true for us, too. Each time Evelyn connects with a more expanded version of herself, bolder, freer, more creative, she has to let go of the emotional weight she's been carrying. Self-doubt, fatigue, failure. She has to soften, to open, to trust. Sometimes even to laugh through the absurdity of the unknown. But in doing so, she begins to navigate the multiverse not as a victim of chaos, but as a conscious creator. And you can, too. Because in real life, just like in the movie, you can't enter a new reality while still gripping tightly to fear. You can't meet the future version of yourself if you're still anchored to the past with emotions of lack, anxiety, or resistance. That's why the most powerful shifts don't always come through effort. They come through presence, through those quiet, courageous moments when you pause and choose to embody the feeling of your future, even if nothing around you has changed. You can start by creating micro moments of alignment throughout your day. A breath before you open your inbox. A pause before reacting to someone's words. A hand over your heart while waiting in line. Just to remember you're safe. These tiny acts of self-connection are not small. They are powerful signals to the field that you're no longer living on autopilot. You're living from intention, from coherence, from a future you're already becoming. Have you ever lived even for a minute, as if everything you need is already within you? Have you ever exhaled as if there was truly nothing left to fear? If not, try it. Not to achieve something, but to become who you were always meant to be. Stepping into a new timeline isn't just one bright, magical moment that happens and then ends. It's not a sudden miracle that lifts you into another world, once and for all. Instead, it's a way of living slow, steady, and repeated, where you learn to return to your higher self again and again. You don't need to stay at a high frequency all day long. You don't need to be perfect, consistent, or fully awakened every minute. You simply need to come back often enough for that new state to begin feeling like home. Think back to Evelyn in Everything Everywhere, all at once. She didn't step into a better reality once and stay there. She slipped. She stumbled. She moved through countless versions of herself, sometimes strong, sometimes confused. But what changed everything wasn't just the chaos. It was her choice to keep returning, to keep realigning, to keep grounding herself in the version of her that felt whole. And slowly, she learned a quiet truth to stay in a higher timeline. She didn't need to control the outside world. She needed to return to her own inner state, again and again, in real life. You can do the same without needing complex tools or perfect circumstances. It starts with small check-in moments during your day. Tiny but intentional acts that help you come back to the timeline you've chosen to live in. It might look like a conscious breath before stepping into a meeting. A soft inner whisper, "I'm living as my higher self." A hand gently resting on your heart while you eat lunch, just to feel your energy again. Or maybe it's a quiet smile for no reason at all except to remind yourself, you are here. You are already enough. And just like Evelyn, you might slip. You might fall back into old habits, frustration, worry, disconnection. That doesn't mean you failed. It just means you drifted. And with a single moment of awareness, you can return. Joe Dispenza once said, "The quantum field doesn't respond to what we want. It responds to who we are being consistently." In other words, reality isn't shaped by what you wish for. It reflects the energy you embody, the state you return to not once, but over and over again. And here's the beautiful part. It doesn't take monumental effort. It begins with small actions done with a different kind of presence, a conscious breath, a gentle letting go, a soft, intentional choice. Every time you choose to return like that, you're not starting over. You're tuning yourself back in. You're stepping quietly but powerfully into the timeline where your brightest self already exists, already waiting. Have you ever lived as if everything you needed was already within you? Have you ever breathed as if there was truly nothing left to fear? If not, try it. Not to prove anything, not to fix anything, but simply to remember who you truly are. By now, you've probably felt this on a deeper level. You don't have to wait for your reality to change, because reality is simply a reflection of who you are being moment by moment. You don't need to chase a better version of yourself. That version never left. It's always been there, quiet, steady, luminous, waiting for you to remember and to return. What keeps the old reality looping isn't that it's stronger. It's simply more familiar. We slip back into old emotions, old habits, old identities, not because they serve us, but because they feel safe. Even when they slowly close off our joy. But a new timeline won't open if you're still carrying the frequency of fear or the outdated story of who you believe you are. So what if today you paused and chose differently? What if you entered the day not trying to fix yourself, but living as if you were already whole? What would be the first thing to shift? You don't have to change the whole world. You just have to change the way you walk into it. With presence, with gentleness, with the quiet confidence of someone who remembers. Think about Evelyn in Everything Everywhere all at once. When she finally stopped fighting, when she chose to stay rooted in love, something changed. She didn't need to escape anymore. She accepted. She became. And from that space of inner stillness, she chose her timeline, not by force, but by coherence. And you can do the same, not by trying to control everything, but by becoming more real, more soft, more aligned from the inside out. Joe Dispenza once wrote that the quantum field isn't something separate from you. It isn't somewhere out there. It is you. It's the space where all possibilities exist, and the moment you align with a new state of being, that possibility begins to take shape. You're not disconnected from the life you desire. You've just forgotten how to live in harmony with its frequency. So let each morning be a doorway. Let each breath be an invitation. Let each quiet choice be a small bridge that brings you closer to the version of yourself you were always meant to become. You don't need another sign. You don't need another reason. You are already enough. You've always been enough from the very first moment you asked yourself, is there another version of life meant for me? And if you're still here, listening to these words, it means one thing. A part of you is already awake, already ready to remember, ready to return, ready to step into the timeline that once felt far away, but in truth, has always been waiting for you to arrive. Now, whisper to yourself gently, honestly, like a promise, I am ready, I am coming home, I am alive. Thank you for being here, for listening with your heart, and for taking this quiet journey inward. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel for more soul-centered content. Until next time, stay present, stay open, and keep coming home to yourself.